A very good morning to everyone who's joined the 9th studio event of Research and Ranking, Inform as a part of the Informed Investor series. A few quick announcements before we go live on the webinar. The chat window will be open for the participants at all given point in time for you to drop in your queries, if any. We will be taking up these questions as well as the queries that you come across in the last 10 minutes as a part of the Q&A sessions towards the end of the webinar, and will look to answer as many possible questions at that given point in time. However, in case if we missed out on any of such questions, we will be sharing an appointment link as well in the chat window during regular intervals of the webinar for you to click on that link, and our counselor will get back in touch with you and try answering all your doubts on a call while he gets connected to you. The webinar is being hosted live on the YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram. In case if one gets logged off, you can use these channels as well to log in into the webinar. Today's webinar will focus on the new India and the emerging themes for the next decade. Without wasting much time, let me introduce to you our speaker for the day, Mr. Jasprit Singh Arora. He is the Chief Investment Officer at Research and Ranking and carries a good 2-decade experience with him and has worked in the broking industry. Jasprit has led a number of research teams as well as he has gone about picking up great stocks for their investors. In his previous stints, he's worked with Angel Broking and Anand Rathi, to name a few. Over to you, Jasprit.
Thank you, Pooja, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. We will ensure that the next 1 hour it will be worth spending with us. We will be discussing what are some of the themes that we like for the next decade. And before that, we will obviously be touching upon what have been the successful themes in the last decade. Let me just start the presentation. I hope the presentation is visible to everyone. Yeah, so we move to our theme, the new India. What are the emerging themes for the next decade, as we discussed? Within that, I wanna just set the background for what's been the situation like in the last decade. And as you can see, there has been not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but over 10, 15 short-term hiccups in the last decade. Still, the Nifty did end up delivering over 11%. The Nifty mid-cap did deliver 13%, compounding average annual growth rate in the last decade, right? We've had financial crisis, we've had political issues, we've had the US related matters, and the recent one obviously being COVID. Believe me, it is to get a 11 to 13% compounding is not an easy task, and this is at Nifty level. Let's look at what was the situation on regarding the sectoral level. Nifty, as I said, grew 11% compounding, which means over the 10 years it became 3x, which means if somebody had put a lakh in Nifty about 10 years back, it is worth 3 lakhs today. But what is more important is what I'm trying to highlight here is some of the sectors have grown much more, as much as 6 times, right? Which are some of those, and that's right up on your screen. Consumer durables, number 1, followed by financial services, followed by IT, and we'll be touching upon some of these in the next slide. So let's start with consumer durables, and here consumer durables mean some of those discretionary expenditure. So you look at a stock like Relaxo, which has become 86 times, which means a lakh put in Relaxo about 10 years back is worth 86 lakh today. Obviously, we are assuming that a lakh was available with an investor 10 years back, which is not a small amount. We are assuming that that person would have stayed put for the last 10 years and therefore would have become 86 times. But then that is the beauty of compounding. If you do that, that is the returns one can make. That may be a loan example within consumer durables, but let's look at more durable, more relevant examples, which is possible. Let's say a Kajaria, which went up over 22 times. Let's look at V-Guard and Havels, which went up between 12 and 17 times, which means 1 लाख हमने रुपए डाले 10 साल पहले, आज उसकी वैल्यू या तो 12 लाख है या 15 लाख है या 17 lakhs, right? Whirlpool, Bata, Voltas, etc. They've all been 6-bagger, 7-bagger, 8-bagger, etc. Similar is and this is the best, and this is one of the best, sectoral this thing, which has grown at 19%, and as we saw, the overall index has grown 6 times. Amongst financial services, Bajaj Finance, the Bajaj twins obviously were the darlings. The Bajaj Finance has grown 94 times, compounding at 58% year after year for the last 10 years, right? And not, at somewhere in the middle between 8 times to 20 times were stocks like a Kotak Bank or a Cholamandalam Bank. Again, a good space to be in if one has stayed put in the last 10 years in across some of these names. And mind you, these are either large or upper mid cap names that we're talking of. If I go down the order, like a lower mid cap or a small cap, the multiplier would be much more, right? But we are just discussing more larger names because you can resonate with that, right? Let's look at IT, right? Mindtree, again a mid cap, earlier a mid cap and now almost a large cap company, had grown 27 times, Coforge 19 times. Large cap company like HCL Tech 7 times, right? So that's been the story around IT. And let's look at chemicals, because that is what has been the face of investors or the topic of discussion. Within that, obviously, alkyl amines, one of the stocks that we, as a disclaimer, we own in some of our clients' portfolio. Is grown disproportionately at 220 times. This obviously we added about a year back. Deepak Nitrite we've been having for over 7 years now, 6 years plus. It has over the last decade delivered 94 times. Again, simply put, a lakh put 10 years back would be worth 94 lakhs today. And there have been many examples, right? But most of them would have still ended up delivering 40 to 50 times. Humongous money. Does the story stop there? Answer is no, right? And therefore we continue to believe chemicals is one of the spaces to that will remain happening and be amongst those high weighted sector going forward. So the background is that there have been sectors like the 3 or 4 we discussed. There have been themes like chemical. Chemical in itself is not a very big sector, but it's more of a theme that has delivered returns, right? What's going forward, right? This is where it gets exciting. Our 4 themes for discussion today is digitalization, unicorns, e-mobility, also known as electric vehicles, and renewable energy. Let's address one by one, right? We'll spend maybe less than 10 minutes on each of these, right? And then we'll just have a quick 5-minute on our overall portfolio construct, and then we'll open for Q&A. So the first one, digitalization. What does digitalization mean, right? Digitalization simply means that we are able to market, we are able to sell, we are able to communicate with our clients through the digital medium, right? It could be 0 today, but a certain number tomorrow, right? Or it was 0 yesterday and it is a certain number today, or it could be a very high number already today, and we are even taking it further, right? So let's say we open a We open a money control, right, to check the prices. We open a trading app to do our investments, right? We order food on Zomato. We book rides to Ola, Uber, right? We do net banking, right? All of that. We go to Amazon. We go to Netflix. All of that comes under digitalization, right? The brilliant fact that today we are talking on Zoom. Teachers are teaching on Zoom to their students, right? Yoga classes are happening, the gym classes, trainer classes are happening on this. It's all means you are connecting using digital medium, right? And why is it a theme? Let's look ahead. So what is driving this is the fact that the smartphone. What do you need? What are the basic ingredients to end up having digitalization as a medium, right? Number one, smartphones, right? Number two, the millennial population, right? Number three is the internet penetration, and number four, obviously, you need money in the pocket, right? So let's look at one by one. Smartphone penetration today is already at we are almost at 82. We're gonna be touching 82 crores Indians very soon, and by that it would be somewhere in that whatever 60 odd percent, 60 plus percent penetration. If you look at some of the forecast, we are talking of 90% penetration of smartphones by 2023. That may be a slight aggressive, but if not 2023, by 2024, max 2025, 90% of Indians will have smartphones, right? And by smartphones, again, it could be a 3,000 bucks phone, it could be a 30,000 bucks phone. At the end of the day, it just needs to have the basic features, including internet. The Gen Z and the millennial population, India, you see in the green bar is right on the front. 65% of Indian population is the millennial population. What does that mean? It means people who are between the age of 25 to 45 years of age, which means they are the ones who are earning money, who are going out, who are spending, who are exposed to the various social media platforms, right? And who is the next the big driver. So a guy 25 years age now, over the next 10 years, he would be spending, by the time he's 35, he'll spend X amount of money. A guy who's 35 will spend what Y amount of money. Guy who's already at 40, next 10 years, he'll be spending about Z amount of money, right? That's where the creme la de creme is of India today. Internet penetration, again, very important to highlight. We are already closer to 50% today, right? Which is about 80 odd crores, and it is increasing very rapidly and should be closer to 70% by 2023. The related fact is that tier 2 cities contribution or the share to overall shopping in India was 36% till about 5 years back, right? Today it is 53%, right? And going ahead, what it means is it could be anywhere between 70 to 80%, right? Or even more. What it largely says is, or it means is that somebody in Mumbai or somebody in Nagpur, right? Or somebody in downtown Kolhapur or even in tier 3 town would have access, right, to all the goods and services at the same price, right, on the same terms and conditions. So as long as they have money, as long as they have a smartphone, as long as they are able to push that button where they say, I want this, the good or the service will be delivered. That's the larger point we are trying to make here. We had discussed in one of our earlier webinars that in the last sale, Amazon was able to deliver to as much as 99% of India's pin code. So that talks about the reach that this space here is. Some of the examples. This is again grounds up. We've gone really, we've digged right into the transcripts, the recordings, the interviews, spoken to some of the managements, and taken out this information, which we are presenting it to you. Right. So let me explain it to you in a layman term. Shoppers stock pre-COVID digital sales stroke communication was 2%. Today it is 6%, right? Page Industries, the manufacturer of the famous brand Jockey, was having 4% sales through digital medium. Today it is 8%, right? What it means is if somebody was buying athleisure wear of Jockey, if it was 4 out of 100 customers earlier, which is a year and a half back, today 8 out of 100 customers, they are getting it digitally, which means they are pressing a button and they get that product delivered to their house. That's the reach of digital. Even a space like Titan, they are also getting inquiries, and they are also able to do sales online as much as 3% of their overall sales. Obviously, there is a bit of omni involved, because to get that, you obviously need to visit the store to take it home once you do that purchase. Bata, once it was said that Bata is probably not catching up as fast as some of the other larger brands, but you see over the last year and a half, their sales over digital medium has increased from 3 to 4% to as much as 10 to 15%. Same is with Maruti. iSure, they've been having tremendous bookings, inquiries, website visits, over the digital medium. Okay, this is where I wanted to highlight, which I said that it is all starting from scratch, right? Let's say ICICI Bank personal loans, earlier they were able to close 60% online through digital. Today it's as much as 90%, right? Credit cards earlier was 44%. Today they are doing 75% of their sales online. Right? Similar is the case with SBI. Their digital transaction share has moved up 59 to 67%. Angel broking, the broking revenue is increased from 65 to the non-traditional, which is a digital broking revenue, is increased from 65 to 83%. Same is with HDFC mutual funds. The share is gone up. SBI Life Insurance, right? 71% premium digitally collected earlier. Renewable premium today is as much as 90%, right? Huge. That's a big jump. I see a lot of participants raising hands. I'll request them to drop in their questions in the chat box, and we would endeavor to take up most of them at the end of this discussion. So drop it in the chat box. That's how we would be ending up taking up questions. We'll club it and address it collectively after another 40 minutes. Hindustan Unilever, so including an FMCG like a lever, including a alcohol bravery brand like Radico, Dabur, Jubilant, right? Jubilant, obviously, online delivery was 85%. This is obviously non-dine-in, right? Dine-in is excluded from here. So non-dine-in was as much as 85% being ordered digitally. Today it's 99%. What's it balance? 1%? 1% is still happening on the phone, right? Voltas is selling as much as 6% of their sales digitally. And surprise, there are real estate companies who are able to do a video session with their potential clients, show the sample flat over a video stroke, whatever medium, and they have been able to close a lot of bookings like that. And Godrej Properties has done that during the pandemic times. So that's the beauty of being available, the medium of digital. So this is the first case study, which is what I wanted to show. How e-tailing. What is e-tailing? Which means you are doing purchase of a mobile or an electronics or a fashion, grocery, home furniture, etc., over the electronic medium, right? Instead of retail, it is e-tail, right? It's just that you, instead of ending up in a brick and mortar store, you're doing that purchase online, right? The point I'm trying to highlight is this space has grown at over 30% year after year for the last many years. Over the next 5 years as well, this space will continue to grow at 30% or more. What it will end up doing is that the online share of these products, if it was 3% pre-pandemic, today it is 5%, and somewhere in 2025 it would be as much as 11%. These are again expert estimates. I mean, we could be more likely, a very high probability we'll be surprised on the positive side. By that I mean 11% could very well be or 15%, right? Within, so as we discussed, there were certain categories, which is use of mobile electronics, etc., etc. Within that, there's a category called grocery. I'm just highlighting grocery. Today, grocery, the mom and pop shops contribute about 90% of the overall grocery market, right? The e-grocery contribution is only 3%, right? And the organized brick and mortar shops like a Reliance Retail or a DMart or a Big Bazaar or Spencer, that's about 7%. Now, this e-grocery segment is expected to grow 50% or more compounding over the next 5 years, right? And therefore, its share is going to be in double digit, mid to high double digit by 2025, right? Just example we have shared of US. You look at the right graph. US pre-pandemic online grocery purchase was 3%, 3.5%. It was expected to be 4.5%, but because of the pandemic, because of more people going digital, doing shopping online, it is as much as 10%. Just that big event or the catastrophe or the pandemic has forced that transition that was supposed to happen over let's say 4 years. It has happened in just 1 year, right? That's the power of digitalization. Okay, to conclude, what we're trying to say here is that the formal economy is now getting a boost, right? And obviously that's a key enabler for the $5 trillion GDP and the $10 trillion GDP that we're talking about. That's point number one. Point number two is that the tier 1 and the tier 2 and the tier 3 consumers are now having same access to the products and services, right? And there is hardly any disparity, right? I mean, for a high-end watch, right? A high-end a health gadget, right? High-end smartphone could be ordered by a tier 3 consumer as long as he has money in the pocket, he wants to spend, he has a smartphone, and he has internet penetration, right? Number three, now the businesses have the strong channel to now reach out to the end consumers, which was not available till a couple of years back. And what it also means is now you can experiment, right? Now the cost of operations has gone down. Therefore, you can innovate with your existing product basket, or you can launch new products altogether. That's some of the things that we want to highlight here. Okay, moving on to our next theme, which is unicorn. What does unicorn mean? What it means is, it was a term coined in 2013 by venture capitalist Alan Lee, who was the founder of Cowboy VC, and she described this term as startup companies who are privately held, who get a valuation of $1 billion. In fact, the $1 billion mark was so rare at that point of time that it was seen to be finding a mythical unicorn, and that's the top left horse is that mythical unicorn sign that's being associated with a unicorn, and the bottom right is the elephant is the Indian version of that's available online. You take it a step ahead, you multiply that unicorn by 10 times, you get a decacorn, and you multiply it by 100 times by valuation, you get hectocorn, right? That's the terms used in this industry. Okay, what it means is that by now the global unicorn list has grown to 700, right? I'm repeating again, these are privately held entities, right, who have been formed after 2013 or just about around that time, 2013 or later, right, and who have a $1 billion or more of market cap being, or let's say the valuation could be ascribed by a private equity as well, right? Need not necessarily be a listed company. Therefore, in this case, it's a privately held company. 700 unicorns are there, largely from fintech, e-commerce, and artificial intelligence. There are a whole host of sectors, but these are the top 3 sectors. Globally, half of them are from US, right? Out of 700, more than 350 are from US, right? You can see in that pie chart. 20% is from China, India and UK are very close at close to 5%, and then all the other countries are at in that balance 18%. This is where it gets interesting. So as we saw in the previous slide, there are about 700 unicorns, and if you look at it, most of them have been formed or have got that kind of valuation or that reset milestone in the last one calendar year. Right, if you look at the pace of unicorns, it was about 10, 11, 20. Right now, it is closer to 30 per month that we've been adding in the last 7-8 months. So out of the point I was making is, out of 700, you look at the top left chart, the last 4 bars, over almost 550 plus is there in the last have been there in the last 4 years. The milestone they reached was only in the last 4 years. Right. So what again this pandemic has done is this has accelerated this pace of unicorns being available globally. And I'll come to that. I'm sure you'll have questions around this and all our themes, and I'll try and address some of them. Okay, what does the देसी लैंडस्केप हमारे यहाँ इंडिया में क्या है, मतलब ये तो ठीक है ग्लोबल हो गया, इंडिया में कितने यूनिकॉर्न्स है? इंडिया में 50 यूनिकॉर्न, right? 50 is what we have. In fact, we have more, maybe just 1 or 2 or 3 more. But this is a round figure 50. Within 50, you look at it. Over 35 we got in the last 4 years. 15 we got in the last 5 months. Right, till date, Jan till date, over 50. Right, that's a speed of Indians. And we have shared some of the names at the top. You would be able to see that the likes of ATM, Cred, etc. Urban Company, in Mobi, right? So that's the speed. What are the top sectors in India? It is retail and e-commerce, and it is fintech, right? Pretty much the same as the global. So out of 700, 50 are in India. Globally, 700, 50 are in India. Good achievement. I would say it's a very good achievement, right? And we will move to the double-digit share very, very soon. As it is, India is now trying to match up to China, right? China is 5 times GDP India, and by unicorn list they are 4 times. कर लेंगे, पहुंच जाएंगे, close कर लेंगे हम लोग. The way the speed at which unicorns are getting established in India. Okay, अब हम देखते हैं हमारे शहरों में क्या है, right? So Amchi Mumbai has about 14% share to that unicorn list, and surprise, Bangalore is where it's red hot and burning, right? Where the real fire is. 40% of all India unicorns are there in the city of Bangalore, right? That is where the techies, the brain kids, the venture capitalists, right? The environment, etc. The ecosystem. That's like the Silicon Valley of US, where the techies are there. So that is where the bulk of unicorns are there, which is as much as 40%. Gurgaon here means another 14%. Mumbai, Noida, that's another. The balance, out of the balance 40%, and then there are some of those cities like Chennai, Pune, Hyderabad. They're contributing to the balance, the last 20%. SoftBank, Alibaba, Tiger Global, Sequoia, Tencent, Temasek, you name it, the biggies of the world are there to fund the Indian startups and make it unicorn. So there is hardly any name left out from the biggies who would not be willing to come to India. Moving to next, government support बहुत जरूरी है. Government के प्रोत्साहन उनके without their involvement and their motivation through fiscal and other mediums, it's not possible. So they have been focusing on the startup route. They've been giving incentives related to tax, patent filing, funding. Giving allocating funds for startups as much as 10,000 crore under the AF scheme, having the capital gains exemption route, all of that and much more is being available directly under some or the other medium, be it directly under the budget or under SEBI or under the Startup India scheme. This is very important. Okay, so this is where I would like to conclude this theme, which is that these are the companies which are now going the which is now going the IPO route. These are some of the big names that we would have dealt with, right, in the last couple of years, right? So Zomato, most of us would be ordering food through Zomato at least once in 10 days, once in 15 days. They are going public with a 8,000 crore. That's roughly a $1.1 billion IPO size. Policy Bazaar 4,000, Byju's $1 billion. Flipkart is instantly hitting the US exchanges. These are all desi unicorns who are now going to the IPO route, right? Till now they have been funded by the private equities, right? And obviously we will now get the opportunity to participate in the journey from here onwards, right? Okay, our next theme is around electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, surprise again, it is something not new to the world, right? We used to have electric vehicle as far as back, early before 1900, right, 1873. Then we moved to a more sophisticated machines, in the late 1980s, 1990s, right? And today, in the last 10 years, the likes of Tesla and many other global giants in US, in China, they have taken the share of electric vehicles to a different level, and we'll see how. Again, just as a concept, electric vehicle runs on electric power, either partly or fully. It's the other. Today, what do we have? We have the internal combustion engines. जो हमारी पेट्रोल डीजल गाड़ी हम चलाते हैं, उनको ICE बोलते हैं, ICE बोलते हैं, which is internal combustion engines, right? And which is what traditional, right? Which runs on petrol diesel. We are now moving to the EVs. What are the benefits? Obviously, non-polluting, low on maintenance, doesn't need heavy oil imports that we do, right? It's very, very quiet. You won't even feel that you are in a car and it's moving, because it doesn't have that as much sound, right? It drops considerably, and the government is giving incentives, right? And we'll see how much. The Indian landscape, the government is very, very aggressively working towards ensuring that we are at par with the global EV landscape, if not now, within 10 years, right? By 2030, we should be at par with some of the global countries in terms of EV penetration. And they are going whole hog to ensure that. Now, India's affair with EV is not new, as we discussed. We had the first vehicle called Lovebird 93. It was originated by Eddie Electric, that was a manufacturer, right? And it was launched in the Delhi Auto Expo. Reva is a more popular brand, which stands for Revolutionary Electric Vehicle Alternative. ये Bangalore में आई थी, and it was offered by Mr. Chetan Mani. So these are just taking back to the good old times when we used to have electric vehicles, but उस समय ज़्यादा इनका वो नहीं हुआ, because we had a limited infrastructure. This is very interesting. What it says is US is, EV penetration is as much as 10%, right? Out of 34 lakh cars or 3.4 million cars, 3 lakh or plus is through the EV route, right? Europe, it is again almost 10%. China, it is slightly less than 10. India, very, very less. मतलब कुछ है, मतलब hardly anything. 2.7, 27 लाख गाड़ियां के सामने we have about less than 5,000 vehicles, right? And this is again, okay, so that was only the car sales, right? Now let's look at the global landscape again, right? And here we are trying to highlight what are the the entry level prices, right? You look at it in India, it is 10 lakhs or more, while in other countries like a US and Europe, you get it at 15-20 lakhs. And mind you, adjusted for dollar parity, it is very, very cheap, right? A 10 lakh affordability here in India is very high, while the same 15-20 lakhs in US would be very, very, very affordable, right? Problem kahan hai? Problem hai charging stations, right? We only have less than 1,000 charging stations, while in all other countries they have like over lakh, between 1 lakh and 8-9 lakhs, right? The battery, obviously, production capacity India में नहीं है. We still relying on imports, and obviously, therefore, the EV car sales are very, very less. What is the government of India doing? They launched FAME one scheme, right, in which they promoted this electric vehicles. More importantly, FAME 2, which is an allocation of 10,000 crore. It's a program which is run between 1st April 2019 to 1st April 2022 for 3 years. They have given 10,000 crore, right? What have they allocated it towards? Let's look at that. So what government says that we have allocated $1.3 billion or 10,000 crore, right? And our endeavor and the government's endeavor is that over this period, over whatever the next 2, 3, 4 years, the idea is to sell the industry to sell 55,000 cars, 7,000 buses, stroke whatever trucks, 5 lakhs 3-wheelers, and 10 lakhs of 2-wheelers. Right? In सबके सामने we get incentive, right? So let's say in a car, the incentive currently is 1 lakh, right? Out of 10 lakhs की जो गाड़ी है, जो भी गाड़ी बनाता है, 1 lakh directly government of India से आता है, right? So we end up, I mean, that's the incentive. That's the incentive that the producer gets. What is the other incentive? That against a GST rate of 18%, the GST rate on an EV is 5%, right? So that is largely, and the third is obviously that there is a subsidization on the battery cost, right? The battery cost has come down substantially over the years. You look at it from $1,000 to as much as $140, but the moment it comes down below, let's say $90, that is where it will become very, very competitive, and it will become at par with the overall cost of the vehicle will become at par with the ICE vehicle, which is internal combustion engine vehicle, right? Today, as much as आप 1 लाख की अगर आप बजाज की या हीरो की अगर आप इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल लेते हैं, मान लीजिए उसकी कीमत 1 लाख है, 40,000 is just the battery cost. Too much, right? If assume it drops down to 20,000, the balance 20,000 is obviously which gets passed on to the consumer, and that vehicle becomes cheaper. 1 लाख की गाड़ी 80,000 मिल जाएगी. बहुत मायना रखता है, right? To someone who really wants to buy an electric vehicle but may not have that budget for a 1 lakh, right? And that's only one way. There could be more ways how this could be, that the overall price could be lowered down, right? Again, between FAME 1 and FAME 2, the number of charging stations across India have gone up either 2 times or 5 times or 10 times, right? Overall stations have gone up from 300 odd stations, infrastructure stations, to almost 3,000 stations by now. This is again as on a certain date. By now it would be more, and a couple of years later, the number of infrastructure charging stations would go up, right? What's important to highlight here is, and I'll touch base in this slide, is that 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers would be the fastest growing space, right? In terms of penetration, right? 2-wheelers में 8 से 10% का penetration हो जाना चाहिए by FY25, right? 4 years, 5 years from now. 3-wheelers में as much as 30%, right? Electric buses में 8 से 10%. While the LCVs, light commercial vehicles or passenger vehicles में it might be less than 5%, right? This is a base scenario. Optimistic scenario में obviously it will be a higher number. And currently, as you can see, it's 1% or less across categories, right? Now, the important point I'm trying to highlight here is, if the distance to be commuted is small, which is the case with a 2-wheeler, which is the case with a 3-wheeler, which is the case with electric buses. And buses, I mean the not intercity but within the city transportation, right? All they would end up doing एक पूरा round काट के आना है, so that may not be more than 100 kilometers, right? 100 किलोमीटर चार्जिंग करनी है. 2-wheelers में आपको 50, 60, 70 किलोमीटर की चार्जिंग करनी है, right? तो अगर distance to be traveled is less than 100 kilometers, if the charging station is available within the city or in that vicinity, right, वो penetration जल्दी होगा, right? But if it's traveling between cities, right, if it involves highway पे infrastructure नहीं है, charging stations नहीं है, वो सब करने में time जाएगा, इसलिए वो LCVs और passenger vehicles में penetration कम है. Again, just an important point to highlight here is that as per the government, the stated policy scenario of US, of India, right, that's the red bar. The penetration of two-wheeler is 18% in US, a proposed penetration, right, by 2030, while the same in India is about 48%, right? And again, the proposed, let's say another example of trucks, right? Or let's say a buses is 21% in US, in India it's 12%, right? This is as per the government of India policy paper stroke their internal committee recommendations, right? However, right, what does the green bar say? It is the rate of adoption that the countries need to follow. This is as per the International Energy Association, which means they want to be carbon neutral, they want to be zero carbon, etc., by 2030. इसलिए उन्होंने ये recommendation दी है. उनकी रिकमेंडेशन क्या कहती है कि यूएस में टू व्हीलर्स, थ्री व्हीलर्स को 71% पेनिट्रेशन हो जाना चाहिए, इंडिया में 58% हो जाना चाहिए by 2030, right? The larger point we are trying to make here is that because of the pressure from bodies like International Energy Association, right, because of the government's proactiveness in trying to be at par with that, as well as, or trying to come close to that, as well as trying to match up with the global economies, we have already laid down our desired penetration levels, and therefore we are working towards it. All right. Moving on to the next one, which is or the last one, which is renewable energy. There are 4 types of renewable energy: solar, wind, hydro, and bio. Right. Currently, if I exclude the large hydro projects, this is a statistics, which means 93 gigawatts of installed capacity is there of renewable energy, RE, renewable energy, right? The share to total capacity of this is about 25%, right? Which is second column. The generation, by generation, if I look at it, let's look at FY20, because that's a more steady year, or where that's about 138 billion units, 0.32. And total generation was 1391. So overall, mota 10 से 11% का contribution है of renewable energy in the overall energy generation. That's the point. What are we trying to say here? It has already doubled in the last 6 years, right? From FY15 to FY21, 5.5 का exactly double हो गया, 11%, right? What is the future? It's gonna double again. It might take 5 years, it might take 6 years, it might take 7 years. It's gonna double again over a period of time. Maybe after 10 years, maybe after 15 years, it's gonna be 50-50 between the thermal and the non-thermal. Non-thermal obviously here is renewable. Renewable, as we saw, are the 4 buckets. Let's look at one by one. Solar, currently we are number 4 in the world, right? 36 gigawatt of installed capacity. Our idea is to be at 100 gigawatts or more. Right, the big states here are Karnataka, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Telangana. What do you need in the solar power? You need huge amount of land. Huge means, fair amount of open land. You need that sun, direct sunlight to be there for at least 6 to 8 hours during the day, right? Of that direct sunshine that you get, right? And you can get started with that, right? And the cost of ownership, obviously, setup has gone down significantly over the years. Therefore, you look at some of those big states, and obviously you need the government support as well to promote this. Second is wind power. Wind power is nothing new. We have the likes of Suzlon and many other companies trying to promote wind power for 2 decades now. We are number 4 in the world, 39 gigawatt capacity, and estimated has been always very, very high, 300 gigawatt plus. Again, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, again, where the wind is very, very heavy, you need open land. हवा बहुत अच्छी होनी चाहिए, open होनी चाहिए, तो आपको with the help of a turbine, you are able to produce electricity. Third is hydro. Again, very old concept. Very old means about, at least I've been looking at it for at least 3 decades now. We are number 5, 45 gigawatt capacity, and potential again has been very, very high. इस वाले only in this particular segment of renewable, land issues, right, farmer issues, litigation issues, state government, right, उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा issue आ जाते हैं, because this is largely on the mountain terrain, because obviously your water is dropping from a height and therefore you're trying to make electricity out of it by using that speed. So therefore यहाँ पे बहुत स्लो डाउन हो गया, एज यू नो, जहाँ पे भी गवर्नमेंट इन्वॉल्व हो जाए, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट इन्वॉल्व हो जाए, लोकल बॉडीज इन्वॉल्व हो जाए, फार्मर्स इन्वॉल्व हैं, लोकल पंचायत इन्वॉल्व है, इसमें काफी इशू आ जाता है. देयरफॉर द स्पीड ऑफ सेटिंग अप हाइड्रो पावर हैज बीन स्लो. Nevertheless, again, Karnataka, Himachal Pradesh, right? These are some of Uttarakhand. These are some of the larger states who have been able to demonstrate. Last is biopower. Biopower again. Through biofuel, we are able to produce 10 gigawatts is what we have. Estimated is 100 gigawatt, and as you would know that so this is the space which is red hot happening and is gonna evolve over the next couple of years, right? Yeah, so that's the last one in that renewable energy. Government support is available. As we discussed, without that, it's not gonna happen at a speed. Under Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have been having solar cities, solar parks, and various funds have been allocated, and FDI is obviously welcome here through the automatic route. So it is the environment friendly new India that we are talking about here. Okay, that is where I stop. We have elaborately discussed four grand themes that we think are a must have in one's portfolio in terms of some facet or the other, right? Directly nahi hoga to indirectly hoga, right? And I'll address it in the Q&A if possible. I'll just take a quick 5 minutes on how we look at portfolio construct, and just to, again, very basic, but since it's so close to our heart, a lot of investors tend to focus on the rate of return. Our idea is, or equally one should pay time to the time factor, right? Which is the real compounding machine, which gives that, which is in our hands, right? This is called the way we classify it is what is in our hands, what is not in our hands. What is in our hands is time, right? The power of time. What is not in our hands as much, right? Is the rate of return. 10% भी ग्रो हो सकता है, 15 भी हो सकता है, 20 भी हो सकता है, 25 भी हो सकता है. There are a lot of factors, external, internal, which will determine that. तो हमारे हाथ में ज्यादा जो है टाइम का, let's focus on that. And why are we saying? Look at this. 25% more time spent, which means instead of 4 years, you allow the stock to be nurtured, right? To grow for 5 years. Let's call it a plant. You allow it to become a proper tree, right? Before you start reaping the fruits in 5 years and not 4 years, right? The compounding machine at 20% will take it to 250, right? Of starting with 100. The same if you give more time, if you're trying to chase more returns, which is 25% more in the left column. Instead of 20%, we are now trying to target 25%, right? 25% ज्यादा रिटर्न हम टारगेट कर रहे हैं. 4 साल बाद उतना ही मोटा broadly very same आपको रिटर्न्स मिल जाएगा, right? So the broad idea is, instead of trying to chase, let's say 50% more return, right? Instead of 20%, we're trying to chase 30%. We would rather suggest that we focus equal amount of attention to giving that portfolio 50% more time. Instead of 4 years, you allow it to be nurtured over 6 years. Instead of 6 years, you allow it to be nurtured over 9 years, etc., etc. Obviously, one needs to have a balance, right? Why not have more focus on the returns? What all we are saying is have that balance. Let's not just focus on the return part. Again, just trying to demonstrate that through a stock which is well known, Bajaj Finance multi-bagger. We saw it's already 90x in the last 10 years. बहुत cycles देखी हैं stock ने, right? Demon, the latest pandemic, etc., right? And you look at the various phases. The compounding has in the last 15 years, right, has been in the range of 40 to 70% per annum, year after year, in the last 15 years. If I break it up into those three phases, right? It is obviously backed by similar or more compounding in net profit. Just trying to highlight the power of return, CAGR. When you combine it with time, that's the amount of wealth that can be generated. Again, just trying to highlight a particular stock, since and this is again to just to put across our philosophy, thought, etc. As we said, chemicals एक ऐसा sector है जिसने काफी अच्छा किया 10 सालों में. Maybe it doesn't multiply as much. Maybe it's not a 40 to 90x. However, we think it's still a 10 to 20 to as much as a 30x stock by stock, still in the next 10 years. Kuch stock honge 10x honge, kuch honge 20 honge. In some cases, it might also be a 25-30x, right? Therefore, we are very, very positive on this space. This is a stock just for, again, demonstration. A disclaimer here is that we have in the majority of our portfolios. This is again trying to highlight why we like this space, which is because India is the next under the +1 strategy, where after China, India is seen as the next manufacturing destinations specifically for chemicals, right? This company is a leader and in the phenol acetone space and downstream derivatives. They have very, very diversified product portfolio, strong technical skills, and recently, about a year back, the next gen has taken over, and we've already seen this stock being a 7x in the last 6 years. We see more growth ahead. So again, just trying to highlight a space that we like. Basic tenets of a portfolio. How do we classify it? It has to have a long-term focus, no short-term. When I say long-term, we are essentially saying 3 to 5 years, right, or more, under our core strategy. Fundamentally driven, goes without saying. Stay focused, right? Bottom-up approach. Very important. Diversification, multi-sector, right? We are of the belief that 20 to 22 stocks, in some cases maybe slightly more, is what our preferred basket would be, right? So 20 plus minus, we would not be in that kind of 5, 7, 10 stocks, right? It doesn't give us the variety or the sector. At the same time, we are not in that camp which will have 40, 50, 60 stocks. Our preferred comfort zone is 20 to 25 stocks, right? A staggered buying, again at a 15,800 Nifty, we get asked questions every day. So the clear answer to that is stagger your buying, right? And not to try and time the market. This is how a typical portfolio is in our various schemes. All weather would be having around 40% share by weightage, which means these are the likes of the heavyweights, the Asian Paints, the HDFC banks of the world, right? Again, disclaimer: we have that in our portfolios. Here the idea would be the EPS growth is growing 10%, 15%, 20% year after year for the next many years. The next one is business momentum, right? The share could be as much as 30%. Here it could be from the spaces of IT, pharma, chemical, right, etc. Here the expectation is the profit is growing 20% to 30% year after year for the many years. The last is the circle of opportunity, where we have as much as 20 to 30% share. Here it could be economy facing stocks, it could be telecom, it could be metal, cement, infra, right, capital goods, right? Some of the spaces that, again, the idea here is to have a view which is around 1 year. Business momentum is where we take a view of 1 to 3 years, and all weather is obviously 5 years or more. Put together everything, we get a portfolio EPS growth of 20 to 25%. When you combine that 20% EPS growth with a 5% of re-rating, we get a compounding machine of 25%. At 25%, in 5 years, the money will triple, 3x. That's the first column in the right-hand side chart. If EPS growth is 24% and re-rating is 8%, the money will multiply 4x, right? If the compounding is at 38%, which is out of which 28% is coming from EPS growth, the money will become 5x in 5 years. Okay. Again, just trying to demonstrate how where we would put each of these stocks, each of these buckets, all right? Just the thought process, right? So just as an example, something like a Asian Paint stroke HDFC Bank would be in that first bucket where it says, or where we are trying to say that it would be as much as 3x in 5 years, growing at 25% year after year, right? Let's say there is a mid cap pharma company, right, where the EPS growth is 24%. That would fall in that mid cap pharma, mid cap IT, or let's say mid cap liquor company that we would have. This would have the probability to grow at 4x in 5 years. And the last bucket, as we have seen, and again, a disclaimer, this has happened in the past. We're not trying to say that will definitely happen in the future as well, but it has happened in the past that the likes of Deepak and some other chemical stocks have delivered 5x in 5 years, or maybe it could be 1 year here or there. That's largely the point we are trying to make. Okay, so this is where I stop. 5 in 5 wealth creation strategy, mispriced opportunity, secrets. These are some of the products that we have. All information is available on the website. And needless to say, anyone has queries around that, you can write to us, or visit our website, and we'll be happy to answer. Our customer service desk will be able to answer all your questions. So that's where I stop, and let me just take some of the questions that we would have. So we have almost 400 participants today. Thank you, all of you, for staying back for the last 1 hour. I'm sure we would take home some wisdom that we're happy to share today with you. And believe me, it takes a lot of hard work, right, to put across all of this in a very, very layman's language, to present in front of you. So thank you for giving us time today. Let me try. So again, a disclaimer: I may not be able to. There are over 50 questions. I would definitely not be able to take up all of them. But let me just combine and take up some of them. So first is surrounding the EV, the EVs and the renewable energy. So the question is that, what about solar energy? How do we capitalize on it? See, in something like, let's talk about digitalization first. That, so as I said, that's the new theme. Whenever we are doing an investment, just try and ask yourself the question: is this company doing enough to go the digital route? Is this company spending enough to reach out to the end consumers, right? Is it, if for example, we are trying to invest in a company, let's say, which is Sprint, just as an example, is it share of digital at par with the industry or more, or is it far lower than the industry, right? That is how you have to keep it in mind in that context, right? Under the renewable energy, I think the point that we're trying to make is that obviously we would always have the choice of to invest in companies like an Adani Power or Adani Green or Sterling Wilson, who are direct beneficiaries under renewable. While at the same time, you also have those derivative beneficiaries like metal companies, right? The larger point, also what I'm trying to make here, is that at any point of time, whenever we see, we will come back to you. In some cases, we obviously have the beneficiaries, or we will have the end beneficiary in the foreseeable future, right? Like in EV, we already have a company which has a high market share of EVs, including global presence. But something like renewable energy, what the larger point also could be that it is the environment friendly route. It's like the Go Green mission, etc., if one might want to call it, because of the fact that we end up importing so much coal, so much crude. I think it's also time that the larger point we're saying is we should feel proud that we are trying to go that route. The new India, right? It's a new India which also takes pride in the fact that we're trying to go green. It's just not making money at the end of the day. ठीक है, मतलब 5-10 लाख हमने बना लिया पैसा इससे, बट what if by the end of the day, after doing all that investment, we end up going outside and we get exposed to the pollution, and what I'm saying, if we end up using some of the things and we make money, but under renewable energy, we still exposed to the thermal route, which is the toxic airs coming out of the vehicles or the industries, right? So somewhere that new India pride also takes prominence, and therefore that is what is there here. Uh, yeah, one question is around the unicorn theme. Here, what the question is that how do we get opportunities here? So obviously, these opportunities so far has largely been around spaces which are privately held. But obviously, one can also look at opportunities which are privately held. That's one point, which is there. One of the features we have under secret product. But the larger point is we are saying is that some of these opportunities will go public, right? And therefore you will have that opportunity there. Also, when one is looking at a company like let's say a Cred, right, or a Grow, right, or Paytm, or InMobi, etc. There are certain attributes, features they have installed, instilled over a period of time. Are some of those attributes available, or some of our listed companies doing the same, right, for them also to get that kind of appreciation, right? That is also how one can look at it. And obviously government support has been around for a long period of time. So as I said, I'm trying to club questions. There are a lot of questions. So again, I'm repeating, if whatever questions are left, I would request the participant to drop us an email, and we would be more than happy to we will ensure that someone from the research team ends up answering some of these questions. So again, there are questions around which PSU name you think has a better future, better prospects, right? Again, we are not going into that zone, trying to pinpoint names. I've already taken examples, right? There is a question around digital and techno theme of the decade. Do you think there will be a bubble being made in this segment in terms of valuation? Yes, maybe yes, right? But again, our idea is not to run after some of those bubbles. Yes, the awareness, and the question is valid. Awareness has to be there, right? If a company has a loss-making company is quoting at ridiculous valuations, then obviously that awareness has to be there. Obviously, a PE can take that kind of approach, can take that risk, right? But they have obviously invested in 10 companies, and now only 2 are delivering, 2 have been multi-baggers. They can take an approach, but we don't know, right? Again, I'm just taking random examples, the likes of Info, the likes of India Marts, right? The likes of Apple, the like of all those off late Tanla platforms. Again, no recommendations there. Again, history suggests that the valuations they got at various point of time, including some of the private companies in the past, like a Zomato or even other companies, including Grow and others, they have grown revenues in multiples, right? So PE may not be the right barometer for such high growth digital companies. One has to look at maybe price to book and price to sales as a barometer. That's also a very widely used barometer globally, right? Because you don't know. See, the growth year after year only on revenue could be 20%, could be 30%, could be 40%. Right? If the likes of Bajaj Finance can grow at 30% compounding in the last decade, the likes of HDFC Bank can grow at 20% compounding for the last 2 decades. There is no reason why some of these companies cannot grow at 20, 30, 40% revenue for the next decade. Right? And imagine if our revenue is growing at 40% compounding over the next decade, the earnings momentum could be in a different trajectory. Once you turn profitable, the earnings momentum could be in a different trajectory. All right. So So we use some of these opportunities under mispriced as well. There's a question around how do you select. So we try and identify कि are in some में से कोई ऐसी theme है क्या जो हमें हमारे mispriced opportunity में मिल रही है. We try and establish that as well. We try and have that as also in our overall portfolio construct as well as under mispriced opportunity bucket. It's not that we will try and identify a renewable energy stock, we'll try and identify an EV stock. No, right? Does the portfolio has some of these attributes that we are highlighting here, right? If yes, then that's an additional multiplier, right? It's like a car, right? उसमें क्या वो अच्छा वाला AC है, अच्छा वाला ventilation है, अच्छे वाले rear view mirrors हैं, right? अच्छे वाले alloy wheels हैं, right? अच्छा वाला the top roof open system है क्या, right? That the top end wipers हैं क्या, right? If yes, then obviously our car will get accentuated, right? Uski speed, uski performance, uski durability all get accentuated. That's how you look at it. You don't try to find a particular ये theme है तो let's focus on this thing, all right? But keep in mind, and obviously this is not the end of it. This is just some of the themes that we have highlighted here. There will be many more themes that will be there, and obviously we'll in subsequent quarters we'll try and come back to you with more such themes. Some stocks in chemical sector has gone up, 1000% X, etc. You are still bullish on chemicals, which are the other sectors that other than so I mean EVs, renewable energy, chemicals. These are some of the sectors, consumer discretionary as well, selectively. But as I said, let's. I mean, it's a series, right? It's like those web series where you have season 1, season 2, season 3. So for our next set of recommendation, next set of thematic recommendations, let's wait for season 2, right? Let's wait for that excitement in the next season. If a company doesn't perform, is there a change in view? Yeah, we have our threshold periods, but we don't panic, right? We have many great names which has not delivered in the last 6 to 8 months, but we know that uska time aayega, right? And once the time comes in 3 months, it will catch up and it will cover up for all that underperformance. And we are seeing that happening for a large footwear manufacturer today, right? I'm not going to reveal the name. I hope you got the hint, right? We're seeing that happening now, right? It will cover up for all that underperformance that was there. I'll just take the last 2 questions in the interest of time. EV penetration we have already answered. It's going to be anywhere between 5 and 10% across categories. Thanks for all the compliments. We see every second comment as a compliment for the presentation and the webinar. Possible pitfalls, blind spots. I mean, such pandemic events, etc., can be pitfalls. For some sectors more, for some sectors it's a boon in disguise. It all depends how you capitalize on it, right? Therefore, one needs to be working very close and closely with advisors like us, so as to ensure that we are able to handhold you in your journey. Okay, yeah, thanks for this question. RBI is saying bubble in the stock market. How do you think? Again, see, it's the job of the RBI to highlight whenever they see that something is whenever such things happen, when interest rates go down drastically, when they go up drastically, or bond prices, etc. It's a job of the regulatory authority to highlight. Doesn't mean that कि RBI ने बोला तो bubble हो गया market में, right? At the end of the day, they are only bodies who are doing the job, right? It's just like a doctor saying कि साहब आपकी तबीयत काफी improve हो रही है, right? You've just come out of a crisis, right? Please ensure you are not going back the same route, right? आप अपना ख्याल रखें. That's the underlying message, right? Just read it that way, right? कि let's not get complacent, right? कि पिछले 1 साल में March to March 70% निफ्टी चला है, तो अगले साल भी 70 नहीं तो 50% रिटर्न तो आ ही जाएगा. No, right? That's one. And second is obviously be very proactive in terms of having a realistic expectation. So that's a larger message. I'm not reading anything beyond that, right? Thank you, Subha Rao and Vijay Matthew and many others for your compliments. There are questions around what's under NPO, what's under secret, more details. I think if you'll write to us, we'll be more than happy to answer that questions. Our email ID is available on the website, or in times of other clients, there is a sales counselor directly whom you have. You can get in touch. With that, this video obviously would be available on YouTube, etc. The recording would be available on various platforms, and obviously we would be making it. We would be sending it over email to all our current clients. And if anyone doesn't receive it, please email it to us. We'll be more than happy to share the YouTube link of this video. Are you giving any discounts, etc., etc.? Best guys are the sales counselor. I will just take one last question. Most of the analysts recommend prices after they have gone up. How do we ensure that we catch the bus early? Okay, very valid question. Let me give you an example. Let's say a stock has a journey of 10 times, right? 10 times. Let's say it was 1 rupee. 1 rupee. Let's say 1 rupee earlier, and now it's 10 times, right? Or has the potential 10 times. Please do not be under this thing that we would be able to. In some cases, yes. If your luck has it, our luck has it, we would end up traveling the entire journey. But the larger return is made in between, right? Which is 2 to 8 or a 3 to 7, right? Or a 3 to 8, right? हम 1 रुपए में नहीं लेंगे तो 2 में ले लेंगे, 2 रुपए में नहीं लेंगे तो 3 रुपए में ले लेंगे, right? 3 रुपए में लेने के बाद we would hold it for at least $9, which is a 3x. In some cases 10 rupees, in some cases 12 rupees. So as we discussed, again I'm going 3x, 4x, 5x. That is what we look at. इस स्टॉक में 3 गुना होने की क्षमता है क्या? If no, we are just out of that, right? If a stock cannot give us 3x return over the next 5 years, we don't get excited, right? A larger excitement comes from 4x. A more larger excitement comes from 5x, right? Not necessarily 5x will happen in 5 years. Even if it comes in 6 years, even if it comes in 7 years, we are good. We are good, right? We have tried to use a lot of Hindi, but still, if any piece was not familiar or it was difficulty, please write to us. We would be happy to share it with you. I think a lot of questions still stock specific, etc. are there. Some on this, some on the sectors as well. As I said, our counselors will be able to help you. As option number 2, please write to us. We'll try and answer most of your this thing. Lastly, wait for season 2, right? Season 1 आपने आज देख लिया. Wait for season 2. We would after couple of maybe 2 or 3 months, or maybe even earlier, we'll try and come back to you with more such interesting themes, so that we are able to enlighten you and share the same knowledge, wisdom on the spaces that we are excited, and some of those and in many cases most of those we happen to own today. And when I'm saying some of those, we would end up having most of those in the next quarter or 2 or year or 2. Just keep in mind, it's a 10-year theme, right? Let's not panic कि ये theme हमने आज नहीं ली, right? हम 1 साल बाद ले रहे हैं, 2 quarter बाद ले रहे हैं, 10 साल की theme है, right? Let's not have that much baggage, right? And let's let the power of compounding, let the power of time, let the power of luck, let the power of wisdom, knowledge, right? Let the power of confidence, let the power of equity, let the power of India, right? That we are in a high growth economy which is growing at 8% or 9% or 10%. 8, 9, 10% is the GDP return expectation for current financial year. सब चीजों को पे आप टिक करते जाइए, अपने आप रिटर्न बनाएगा. बहुत ज्यादा उस पे let's not focus. The return will be the let's enjoy the journey. Let's enjoy that journey of wealth creation. Let's not focus कि ये 5x नहीं हुआ है तो 2x ही रह गया, अरे अब मैं क्या करूं, right? वो नहीं होगा, कोई और हो जाएगा, right? और वो होगा, वो भी 2 साल बाद हो जाएगा, right? It's like trying to make the best possible Indian cricket team to prepare for the World Cup, right? 4 साल लगते हैं सर Indian cricket team को भी before they try to send the best possible cricket team to the World Cup. उसके बाद भी we end up being a semi-finalist or a finalist, and once in 25 years we win the World Cup. right? That's the best possible process or a example I can give you, right? Let's enjoy the journey. Let's enjoy the journey. Over a period, we would be very more informed, intellectually, sound, and very confident investors, right? ये 2 4 5 साल की journey नहीं है, 20 25 साल की है. It just started. The journey has just started. So on that note, I will stop, and we'll say bye. That journey is just started. The next decade is going to be India's decade, where China was 15 20 years back. It's the India's road or stroke journey next 10 years. There are many themes, many stocks, many opportunities that will come, right? Let's not be short term oriented. Let's not panic and enjoy the journey. After 5 years, 10 years, I'm sure you will enjoy every penny, every investment return that you would have made, right? Not to say that it won't happen in a year. कुछ 1 साल में बन जाएंगे, कुछ 3 साल में, कुछ 5 साल में, right? Thank you everyone for your time today. You've been a wonderful audience. We still have almost 300 participants still logged in right till the last minute. So we thank all of you, and would be happy to share the links with you later, and it's going to be available on our YouTube channel as well. Right? Have a great weekend, and look forward to catching up with most of you in our next webinar. Thank you so much.